To be High Commissioner, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, distinguished delegates. The human rights crisis in Haiti has reached disastrous levels. The report before you today documents a vortex of violence fueled by gangs and so-called self-defense groups, but also associated with operations by the security forces, resulting in serious human rights violations and abuses. According to data verified by our office, between 1 March of last year, 2025, and 15 January of this year, at least 5,500 people were killed and some 2,600 were injured in gang-related violence. The data shows that 65% of these casualties took place during operations by the security forces against gangs. More than 1 in 5 of these victims, including children, were struck by stray bullets in their homes or on the streets. Gangs control most of the capital, Port-au-Prince. They are now expanding into its outskirts and moving north into the Artibonite and Center departments. They kill, kidnap, beat, and burn the bodies of anyone who gets in their way. This includes people who resist extortion and those they perceive as collaborating with the police. Gang members destroy and ransack property and exert control over the population by starving and extorting them. They restrict access to healthcare and education by destroying facilities and setting up roadblocks. Sexual violence against women and girls is a particularly horrific feature of this crisis, used to spread fear and punish the population. Between the 1st of March 2025 and the end of last year, the 31st of December, our office verified that more than 1,570 women and girls were victims of sexual violence, mostly gang rape. The real figures are likely higher. Gang members coerced others, including children, into relationships and subjected them to prolonged sexual exploitation and abuse. Due to persistent stigma, sexual violence remains underreported and its impact, including on men and boys, is largely hidden. There are serious concerns that gangs are trafficking children for exploitation in criminal activities, although comprehensive figures are not available. Gangs coerce children into committing targeted killings, sexual violence and kidnapping, as well as destroying property. Children are also forced to run errands, to monitor security forces, and to collect extortion payments. This gang violence is enabled by the use and threat of firearms. We urge all states to implement the Security Council's arms embargo in full to prevent the illicit trafficking of firearms and ammunition into Haiti. Mr. Vice President, during the reporting period, security forces intensified ground and air operations against gangs in Port-au-Prince and sought to prevent gang expansion in the city. This includes law enforcement operations conducted by the Haitian National Police on the ground, sometimes with support from the Haitian Armed Forces and the Multinational Security Support Mission, the MSS. There are serious concerns that state law enforcement have used unnecessary and disproportionate lethal force against gangs and individuals accused of providing support to those gangs. I call on the authorities to investigate all deaths that take place in such circumstances. A foreign private military company contracted by the government has used drones and helicopter gunfire against gangs since March 2025. Our office has verified that at least 60 people with no affiliation to gangs, including 13 children, have been killed in these operations. Most of these strikes may amount to targeted killings in violation of international human rights law. We have no indication that judicial authorities are investigating the legality of these killings. Our office has also documented that during the reporting period, police officers summarily executed some 196 people accused of belonging to or collaborating with gangs. Some people were targeted solely because of where they lived or because they lacked identification. Self-defense groups and mobs continue to carry out so-called popular justice, lynching people and burning their bodies. These groups have killed almost 600 people some accused of being affiliated to gangs, others suspected of having committed common crimes. Mr. Vice President, gang violence has deepened instability in a country already marked by fragile governance and huge humanitarian needs. Years of corruption and impunity have eroded the effectiveness of the police, the judiciary, and other state institutions, and have weakened public trust. While there has been some progress, including the launch of investigations into corruption and gang financing, much more is needed to restore the rule of law. Escalating gang violence in the Centre and Artibonite departments has contributed to the dire humanitarian situation, which is exacerbated by extreme weather events, including storms and floods. As of September of last year, more than 1.4 million people were internally displaced, a 36% increase in less than 1 year. Water, food, healthcare, and education are out of reach for millions of Haitians, further undermining social cohesion and the rule of law. We recognize the efforts by the Haitian authorities to fulfill their obligations to ensure law and order in such a challenging environment. However, to build lasting security in Haiti, the authorities need to anchor their responses in human rights, prioritizing prevention and protection, including community-based approaches to countering violence. This requires focused efforts in 3 areas. First, law enforcement operations must be conducted in line with international human rights law. Police and security forces may only use potentially lethal force when it is unavoidable to protect life and only as a last resort. This saves lives and it builds public trust. More violence only increases people's feeling of insecurity. It is critical to ensure that the Haitian police and security forces, as well as the gang suppression force, operate in full compliance with international human rights law, and our office remains ready to support this work. Second, strengthening state institutions and pursuing accountability. This means bolstering judicial independence, tackling corruption, and investigating the serious human rights violations and abuses that have been committed over many years. We urge the authorities to ensure that the 2 specialized judicial units established to address human rights violations and corruption are able to begin their work as soon as possible. Third, and most importantly, protecting the population, including through addressing the trafficking of children by gangs. Deep inequalities are part of the root causes of the crisis in Haiti. The authorities must tackle extreme poverty and invest in meeting people's basic needs. The human rights economy that we have put forward can provide a helpful framework to ensure that all economic and financial decisions focus on advancing human rights for all. Our office is ready to support the authorities in these efforts. Support programs for survivors of sexual exploitation and abuse and others affected by gang violence are a crucial piece of breaking the cycle and building resilience. Mr. Vice President, years of armed violence and human rights violations and abuses have destroyed and upended lives across the entire country. At this moment, as Haiti stands once again perilously close to the brink, only a renewed commitment to principled rights-based protection and responsible, accountable law enforcement can put the country onto a more stable course. Bringing about real change in Haiti requires sustained financial and political commitment on behalf of the entire international community. Together, let's support the Haitian people to open a path towards lasting peace and security, to hold free and fair elections, to rebuild the safety, and restore the dignity that they so well deserve. Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
Gracias. Tiene a continuación la palabra.
Thank you. I give the floor to Mr. O'Neill.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President, and greetings, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, friends. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. I've just returned from a 10-day visit to Haiti to assess the human rights situation in the country. I am honored to present a few reflections on this visit. I saw glimmers of hope, some territory liberated from gang control, a motivated and more visible police presence, and a determined and more unified political leadership. Yet I am alarmed by the ongoing human rights crisis that creates massive suffering for the Haitian people, especially the most vulnerable. Violence has forced at least 1.4 million people to flee their homes, an unprecedented level of internal displacement in Haiti. Many families live in extremely precarious conditions without access to health care, clean water, toilets, food, schools, or adequate shelter. In camps and makeshift settlements, people struggle every day simply to survive. Sexual violence is rife in these sites. Meanwhile, thousands remain trapped in areas controlled by gangs or along shifting front lines. Young people in these communities live under constant threat. They are also frequently stigmatized or suspected simply because of where they live, sometimes by security forces, sometimes by others in the population. This places them in an impossible situation, caught between violence and suspicion. As a young girl told me, young people in Haiti face many invisible borders in their lives. Et pour les filles,
And for the girls, these barriers are even higher. They're facing discrimination due to the simple fact that they are girls, to live in areas controlled by gangs, and because they're poor. I want to simply live well and in security, a young girl told me, because this is my country.
the situation is fragile. I heard serious concerns about police operations and the reported use of drones that have resulted in deaths and injuries. Efforts to restore security are essential and desired by many, but they must fully respect international human rights law. Security measures, however, are never enough. Haiti must also invest urgently in violence reduction and prevention, particularly for young people. I was encouraged to hear the Prime Minister's commitment to programs focusing on rehabilitating young gang members. Many children and adolescents have been recruited or coerced by gangs and are growing up in communities where violence has become part of daily life. Haiti is a dangerous place to be a child. Haiti urgently needs rehabilitation and reintegration programs for children associated with gangs, as well as real alternatives for all young people through education, employment, and access to basic services. Institutions responsible for child protection, including the Institut du Bien-être Social et de Recherche, must receive greater support to respond to the urgent needs of children and youth affected by violence.
I'm also convinced that the creation of a core of Haitian youth can give young people a constructive role in the reconstruction of their communities and to contribute to the future of the country. This will also make it possible to avoid the renewal of the operation of gangs.
Years of violence. Haiti has talented professionals who can help address this challenge. Haitian psychologists, social workers, and community leaders should be mobilized to support victims, promote reconciliation, and help rebuild trust within communities. They can help repair what many Haitians told me is a shredded social contract. I'm deeply concerned about corruption, impunity, and the weakness of accountability mechanisms. During my visit, I visited the prisons in Port-au-Prince and in Cap-Haïtien.
The conditions that I have observed have been inhuman and degrading. Adults and children, as well as women and men, are detained in the same institutions, often in conditions of extreme overcrowding and unhealthy conditions. Such treatment is unacceptable and shows the structural problems in the system of justice and detention.
Accountability and ending impunity will be essential. I welcome initiatives such as the new specialized pôle judiciaire, which offer hope for progress in the fight against corruption and human rights violations, including sexual violence. The Unité de lutte contre la corruption must receive the support necessary to combat corruption, and the Haitian justice system must prosecute these cases vigorously. The UN Security Council should impose sanctions against those responsible for corruption and human rights abuses, and all UN member states should enforce the Council's arms embargo on Haiti. Distinguished delegates, I met many courageous Haitians, human rights defenders, journalists, community leaders, healthcare workers, educators, government officials, and ordinary citizens who continue to work tirelessly for their country. Their commitment is remarkable. We can't let them down. There is no more time to lose. As a famous Haitian Creole says, Kembe fem, pa lage, Stay strong. Do not give up. Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you. I give the floor to the distinguished representative of Haiti.
Monsieur le Président,
President, Madam Deputy High Commissioner, Mr. Independent Expert, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, there are moments in the life of nations when time is no longer measured in days or months, but in accumulated suffering, in suspended hopes, in upset lives. Haiti is living through one of these moments. I would like to thank the High Commissioner for the detailed report on the human rights situation in Haiti, the independent expert for his continued commitment, and I would also like to thank the Council for the continued attention that it gives to my country. The report highlights the seriousness of the situation on the ground, marked by the growing influence of armed groups, massive population displacements, the collapse of essential services, and the increase in extremely brutal violence. We know that, and we do not seek to dispute that. In Haiti today, fear has become a daily reality. It is experienced in forced displacement, in closed schools, in limited access to health care, but also in the violence inflicted on women and girls, in a cruelty that nothing can justify. This is a situation is not that of an ordinary crisis. It reflects a profound security breakdown, fueled in particular by illicit flows of arms and transnational criminal networks that far exceed the capacities of a weakened state. In the face of this reality, the Haitian state has not remained inactive. In the area of security, the government of Haiti, with the support of international partners, has taken specific steps to gradually regain control of the territory and to reestablish state authority in the most affected areas. The operational capacities of the National Police of Haiti have been significantly strengthened, in particular by providing specialized equipment, providing armored vehicles, the rehabilitation of police infrastructure, and the improvement of field projection capabilities. This support has enabled targeted operations to be carried out that have led to the gradual recapture of strategic areas and reopening of several essential roads, particularly in the Carrefour airport region as well as in the districts of Solino, Cité Soleil, and Bas Delma. At the same time, a major program to increase the number of staff is underway aimed at training 4,000 anti-gang police officers. Supported by several international partners, this program has made it possible to ensure the training and deployment of new police officers, including in the areas that have been hardest hit by violence. At the same time, Haiti is resolutely pursuing its efforts to return to a constitutional order. The adoption of electoral decree and establishment of a relevant timetable is a decisive step towards presidential and legislative elections in 2026. Numerous parties, groups, and political organizations have been registered, showing the true will to participate in the democratic process despite the circumstances. Excellencies, Haiti remains deeply committed to multilateralism and continues to cooperate with the United Nations in a constructive spirit. Nevertheless, the challenges that we are facing go beyond our national capacities. We call for increased international support, especially in the area of security, in the area of judiciary and humanitarian support, as well as the effective implementation of an arms embargo in order to put an end to the source that feeds into violence. Mr. President, despite these challenges, the Haitian people continue to demonstrate a moral strength and dignity that command respect. We simply aspire to live in security, to rebuild our institutions, and to resume the normal course of national life. Haiti is not a problem to be managed. It is a nation to be supported. Thank you.
La lista de oradores.
Thank you very much. Floor to the Deputy High Commissioner. To the Special Microphone, please.
One theme came up was how to fight impunity. Several you asked about that. I think there's several ways that have already been undertaken. One is the pôle judiciaire that have already been mentioned, and Amnesty just asked about that, and they're not yet operational, but they're about to be operational. I can just tell you I was there 2 weeks ago, and there are now judges and prosecutors, Haitians, who've been identified by the National Council of the Judiciary. There's a building, there's equipment, and so the hope is, and I can't predict, but I would hope in the next month or 2 or 3 that the pôle judiciaire that are going to fight corruption and financial crimes and the gang violence and sexual violence will be up and running. That will be very important to address this question of impunity, accountability, and enhanced oversight, which is sorely needed in Haiti. And it loops back to the question of root causes. I mean, this is not dealing with the symptom. This is dealing with one of the primary reasons you have the catastrophe in Haiti today. It's corruption alongside impunity, getting away with it. The other questions that came up from several delegations, Estonia, Mexico at the least, and maybe others, was operations, how to enhance or improve or mitigate the risk that harm may be done to innocent bystanders in operations, either by the police or by the gang suppression force or by the private military company that the Haitian government has contracted. There's several steps that can be taken already that will need to be enhanced and followed through. One, and I know the colleagues, the Human Rights Service in Haiti and officers also here in Geneva and human rights officers in New York have been working very closely with those who are creating the gang suppression force to inform them, first of all, the briefings about what is the reality in Haiti. It's not an easy area to operate in. You have densely populated urban areas where the gangs don't follow any rules. I mean, they could care less about human rights or any other laws that we would try to observe ourselves. So, but we obviously, the force and all of us, have to follow rules, and one is to use force with extreme discrimination, care, and only based on solid intelligence, and also be prepared for the fact that in Haiti, as we've heard, half the gang members are minors. 12, 13, 14-year-olds. So to inform these troops that are coming and police that they may be facing a teenager. And also the gangs use civilians or bystanders as shields, as a way to help maybe deter being attacked. So this type of planning, scenario-based, intense information about the operating environment is a vital step to try to mitigate any harm that could come. The second is to try to get the children out of the gangs so that by the time these operations may take place, we hope many children will have been able to leave the gangs. So the government and civil society, and back to their participation, Amnesty's question about how to involve civil society here is vital to plan safe pathways for these teenagers to be able to leave a gang. And many of them are victims. They've been forced, coerced, threatened. I mean, I've interviewed some former gang members, and they all have the same stories of both coercion and desperation. So they need to have a safe place to go where they can get psychological counseling, education, all types of rehabilitation, so that they may be able to re-enter society at some point. So that would be another aspect to this problem of how do we try to avoid any harm, especially to youth who are, and again, if you go into a slum area in Haiti, 60% of Haiti's population is all under 25 years old. So there's just a lot of young people everywhere you go in Haiti. So I hope I answered those two clusters of questions, and I'll stop there.
Gracias. Tiene la palabra ahora.
Thank you very much. Now I give the floor to the High Commissioner.
And thank you to the independent expert. Let me try to complement. There was a specific question from Spain about the progress that we've achieved through technical assistance. Let me say we have made tangible progress in strengthening Haiti's capacity to investigate and prosecute serious human rights violations. I'll use the example of the work that we've done on investigating sexual and gender-based violence. We developed and distributed a practical manual working with police stations nationwide, standardizing survivor-centered interviewing, evidence collection, case documentation. Also, we helped create a secure digital SGBV data system, again validated by the Haitian National Police. And we supported, working in several high-risk communes, the establishment of SGBV coordination platforms. And those are improving communication, again, between law enforcement, service providers, civil society. family. We've already heard about the 2 specialized judicial units, and hopeful that those will be up and running, and dedicated to corruption and financial crimes and to gang-related violence and other serious violations, with, again, training delivered to magistrates and police officers on investigation and prosecution techniques to strengthen the handling of human rights-related crimes more broadly. We have helped to adjudicate 79 criminal cases, reducing the judicial backlogs, and we have strengthened police accountability. We heard a lot about accountability by documenting and transmitting over 220 cases of alleged summary executions and unlawful use of force to the Inspector General of the Haitian National Police, all of which are now under investigation, and that's very, very tangible. Finally, of course, we are very much engaged on supporting human rights compliance and security operations. Over 70% of MSS personnel have received human rights training, and nearly 400 human rights defenders were trained to monitor operations and advocate for accountability. Switzerland asked a question on what is needed to build a common and comprehensive response. I would say very briefly the restoration of security, first and foremost, through operations that fully comply with international human rights law, as Bill just outlined, strengthening accountability and governance. We have all spoken to the importance of tackling corruption and impunity. And finally, the investment in prevention. That's not just civil and political, that is very much social, economic, and cultural. The expansion of access to basic services. And let me, Mr. Vice President, just by concluding, reiterate our appreciation to the government of Haiti for its openness and its very constructive engagement. We, of course, have taken note and accompanied the Haitian National Police in their efforts to strengthen their operational capacity. Again, we just want to reiterate that respect for human rights is not secondary to security. It is at the heart of the quest for stability and development, and certainly for tackling root causes. We urge once again continued support from the international community to the Haitian National Police, and then to address the root causes of violence, that all prevention strategies support the reduction of community-based violence, disarmament, demobilization, recovery, and reintegration altogether, along with the required economic conditions that will provide this alternative path to the future that we all seek for the people of Haiti. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you. This brings us to the end of this interactive dialogue, and I'd like to thank the designated expert in